something happens. Every night there's gunshots, yes. And tonight, when they went there, there was an explosion. There was explosion. Lots of people died. Lots of people injured. And they sent me some pictures. I even couldn't look at that. And I told them to don't send me the pictures and or the videos of the whatever happened there, because I can't take it. I can't take it. I start crying, or it's very hard for me to look at this stuff.
You can hear more of that conversation tomorrow on Windsor Morning. It's at 7:20 on 97.5 FM at 98.1 FM in Leamington. U.S. President Joe Biden had tough words for those behind today's attacks, vowing that the U.S. would hunt down those responsible and make them pay. He said it would not stop the mission.
These ISIS terrorists will not win. We will rescue the Americans in there. We will get our Afghan allies out, and our mission will go on. America will not be intimidated. And I have the utmost confidence in our brave service members who continue to execute this mission with courage and honor to save lives and get Americans, our partners, our Afghan allies out of Afghanistan.
Now, most of the Canadian military personnel who were in Afghanistan, they've left, but thousands of people who applied to come to Canada, they didn't get out. CBC's Stephen D'Souza has more about the worries for those who are left behind. And a note here, we are protecting the identities of some of the people in this report out of concern for their safety.
They waded through sewage and didn't get out. Now some Afghans who hoped Canada would take them see not just soldiers, but an entire country turning its back on them.
I cannot control my mind and body. I'm feeling very exhausted. We are in a situation, the words cannot describe it.
The devastating news came in an email. Evacuation operations from Afghanistan have now ended. At this time, no further evacuation flights are being planned. Adding to the pain, the anguish of seeing a bombing at the very spot outside the airport that so many were told was their path to freedom. It's not clear how many killed today may have been trying to get to Canada.
We Afghans are very strong, we are very strong. Our faces can't say anything, but our heart and our soul can feel everything differently.
You can see the people are moving there.
Another contractor who worked for Canada says he feels abandoned, especially after multiple dangerous attempts to reach Canadian officials at the airport.
I'm telling our Prime Minister, the Canadian Prime Minister, that you didn't done 100%. You were busy with your election, or you just ignored us.
We stayed in Afghanistan for as long as we could.
The government says it evacuated more than 3,700 people from Kabul after receiving applications from about 8,000 to leave Afghanistan. But with the U.S. pulling out in days, they had to leave.
We wish we could have stayed longer and rescued everyone who was so desperate to leave. That we could not is truly heartbreaking. But the circumstances on the ground rapidly deteriorated.
Canadians, too, are stuck, including Nargis Osman.
I mean, this is not what we expected from the Canadian government. When they started this mission, we all were supposed to start together, and we were all supposed to end it together.
The government can't say how many it's left behind. For some, their only hope now, escape across land to a third country. But some on the ground tell CBC that Canadian officials have warned them it's too dangerous. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
People can privately sponsor Afghans who were able to leave the country. The Diocese of London covers much of southwestern Ontario. They're a sponsorship agreement holder with the federal government.
We are given a very fixed allocation by the government every year. We'll now be prioritizing applications for people from Afghanistan. We've done this in the past for Kosovo and Syria and situations like that.
Any idea how many applications you'll be able to process?
No, it will start flooding in now. What we're really hoping for is that the government can announce additional programs, blended sponsorships and joint sponsorships, where the rules and the processes, and then they don't count against the diocese's allocation, but we can help the people access those programs and bring them over here. That, for instance, allows a co-sponsor to partner with with another agency or one of our faith communities. Some of our officials through the Canadian Council of Refugees have been lobbying for that, and we're hoping to hear by the middle of September.
He says he hopes that some of these programs will learn lessons from what was going on with the Syrian refugee crisis. Now, how this works, someone living in the Diocese of London area can sponsor a refugee overseas that's left Afghanistan. You can contact them at 519-256-0506. You can also visit their website. We've got it on the screen there. The boundaries basically runs from Windsor to Sarnia, up to Goderich, and then across to Port Dover. Football is the only high school sport not going ahead this year in Windsor. In a joint statement, all three school boards, along with the Windsor and Essex County Secondary School Athletic Association, saying there will be no season. Today, players were pushing Jacob Barker following the story. Jacob, why is this happening with football?
Well, I'm here at the football field at Holy Names High School, and you can see there are sports being played behind me, but it's not football, it's soccer, and there isn't likely to be a lot of football being played on this field this year. And the school boards are saying that all boils down to timing. There isn't enough time left to get the helmets properly certified, that they need to get certified and train players and coaches to play the game safely before the season starts. But today there was a group of players and parents that went down to the school boards, and they were trying to tackle the issues with the people who make the decisions directly. When these players signed up to play high school football, they never thought it would lead to protesting at school board offices.
Well, I hope they completely change their attitude, if I'm being honest. I hope they realize how much it means to not only the students, but also the community of Windsor, right?
High school is fleeting, and football for these students is a big part of the experience. 2 seasons missed is detrimental for those who are staking their future plans on the game.
There's a lot on the line for me because I also missed my grade 11 year, and as far as recruitment goes, grade 11 and grade 12 are your biggest years, so it could be the make or break for a lot of scholarship opportunities and school conversations.
Today, they visited each of the school board offices to deliver a letter asking for a meeting to explain how a season could work.
I'm not here to lay blame. I'm not here to do anything. I just want to know what I can do as a parent and what the coaches can do and other people that are volunteering to get this program off the ground as quickly as possible. Whatever it takes, we'll find people to do it.
But today, all 3 school boards and the Athletic Association made a joint statement saying there is simply not enough time in the fall to allow for a football season to safely proceed. They also say their decision not to have a season is consistent with a number of other boards. But CBC has confirmed that there are boards in the province, such as London, Hamilton, and Thunder Bay, that are going ahead with their seasons. Alan Halberstadt, a public school board trustee, says there was an assumption on the board that the province may not allow football this season.
Since I think our board had assumed that there wasn't going to be any, somebody maybe dropped the ball with regard to getting these helmets ready. Coaching certification is another issue.
He says he's keeping an open mind, but doesn't want to rule a season out. He's calling for a special meeting.
The trustees didn't have any say in this decision, and I guess that's normal. Generally, yeah, which is fine. You don't want the politicians nosing in all the time, but this could be a special case.
Barker, what happened to pushing this season into the spring? That seemed to be part of the plan earlier this week.
Well, again, Chris, according to that joint statement from the school boards, from officials, they say that's not going to happen either. The release that they put out today says that given that soccer is also held during the spring, holding both sports at that time may cause considerable damages to those school fields with natural grass. This would make it extremely difficult to conduct regular outdoor physical education classes. The release said that moving the season would make it difficult for multi-sport athletes to decide between football and other sports. Now, I did ask one player what he thought of that decision, and he called it both ridiculous and perplexing, given that 3,000 people have signed on to a petition that is calling for the football season to go ahead. Chris.
Thanks, Jacob. CBC's Jacob Barker, live tonight. We turn now to local COVID-19 cases. 91 were announced in Windsor, Essex this morning. There are 446 active cases, more than 60% involving variants of concern. The health unit is also advising of a possible exposure on August 14th at the Chicharo Club in the B and C hall. Anyone there, you're being cautioned to be tested. Right now, there are 10 people in the hospital, 7 unvaccinated, 1 patient partially vaccinated. 2 people are in the ICU, 1 is unvaccinated. Take a look at Chatham-Kent, where they gave an update as well today. 9 patients in hospital, 1 in the ICU, none are vaccinated. 42 active cases of COVID-19 right now. And during their update this morning, Dr. David Colby, the medical officer of health for Chatham-Kent, says lockdowns are unpopular, but thinks restrictions should be considered for unvaccinated individuals. In recent months, the shipping of goods has gone full steam ahead. The demand has restored activity at Windsor shipping ports, making them busier than recent years, but it's also placing a strain on some trucking companies, which say they could use more drivers.
We at the Port of Windsor are experiencing some extraordinary volumes in construction. It's a sign that, when we drive around the city, we're seeing, road construction, I think, everywhere we turn. Well, those materials, that concrete, those aggregates are coming through Port Windsor every week. We're also, of course, experiencing and seeing the Gordie Howe International Bridge going up, and that is just consuming vast amounts of concrete, steel, aggregate. We are seeing steel come through Port Windsor at volumes we've not seen in 3 or 4 years now. I think there's a bit of a lag from COVID. There was a lag from some trade issues and tariff issues, not only within North America but globally. We've seen those resolved, and we're seeing a bounce back.
We're very much struggling to keep up. When we talk to our major steel clients, they're coming off some of the highest output quarters that they've ever had. I think that we could easily add 25% to our fleet and keep them busy on a daily basis. When the pandemic started, the drivers who may have been on the cusp of retirement, I think a lot of them made that decision that was a good time to exit.
Now, despite the added stress, both the Port Authority and transport companies say it's good to see the economy starting up again. Most are usually in a gallery or on display at a wall, but there's a sculpture along Elm Street that has neighbors stumped. CBC video producer Darren DiCarlo went out to see the fascinating piece.
Our first carving done in a residential area, and not really something that we thought we would do all that much of. To spend the resources on public art, you often put them in places where people are visiting, such as the parks, but this was a very unique situation. So it really wasn't something that we were going to broadcast or, make a public announcement. We kind of wanted to do something positive for this neighborhood and just let it be and just kind of watch what happens. And it didn't take very long before neighbors started talking, and Annette was getting a lot of positive feedback, and here we are.
Every time somebody would go by, their heads would turn, and some would stop and talk, ask about it, and that. And the whole neighborhood has been up and down the street, take pictures with it and everything.
I like how he chose, on this side of the tree is native oak. Oak are a big part of Windsor, Essex. And on the back side of the tree, with the blue eyes, the spirit man has maple leaves around his face. So I thought that was pretty cool how Paul incorporated our local flora to represent the trees here in the city of Windsor.
I don't know how he decides. Sometimes he uses people he knows, I guess, and stuff, but...
You say that your face isn't in there?
No. I wanted to share with people on the street. I made them do it a little bit sideways so I could see it, but people coming up the street or down the street would see it too and appreciate it rather than being totally front to my house.
This tree gave this community many years of community benefits. Shade, stormwater retention. Paul probably played under this tree when he was a kid, and now we've preserved this tree, and this tree can give another 10, 15, 20 years of enjoyment to the neighborhood. So it's pretty cool.
Wouldn't mind seeing one of those on our street out in my area too. Nice to see when you got that public art. A nice look at what we've got kicking around outside. Bit of haze, some rain clouds. Yeah, just a little bit of something that might break this heat wave. Nick Sirkovich is up next with the forecast. More medals for Canadian Paralympians on day 2 of competition at Tokyo 2020. CBC's Devin Hero has more on today's results.
2 medals on day 1, 2 medals on day 2 for Team Canada here at the Tokyo Paralympics, and it happened at exactly the same venues.
And that is the race.
Earlier today at the Izu Velodrome, 46-year-old Tristan Chernoff in his second games winning silver in the C1 3,000-meter cycling event. It matches exactly what he did 5 years ago in Rio. He has 4 medals at the games now.
He's going to break the world record, but what time will he post? Glides to the wall and still smashes it by half a second almost.
Then over to the Tokyo Aquatic Center. Another magical night in the pool for the Canadians. 24-year-old Nicolas Guy Turbide from Quebec City, swimming to silver in the S13 100-meter backstroke event. It's an upgrade from his bronze medal 5 years ago in Rio. Team Canada now has 4 medals here at the Games. A couple of disappointing losses for the Canadian teams here today. The men's wheelchair basketball team dropping their opener to Spain, and in a spirited battle, Canada losing their second wheelchair rugby game to the United States. Tomorrow morning here, all eyes are going to be on Canada versus the host nation, Japan, in women's wheelchair basketball. Canada looking to pick up their second win. It starts at 9 a.m. local time here, 8 p.m. back home in Canada. Devin Haru, CBC News, Tokyo.
There's many local athletes you can watch for tonight. Chatsworth's Bailey Hooper in the rowing competition at 8:30 this evening, followed up by 9:05 when Charlotte Bolton will be on the shot put side. She's from Tillsonburg. Now, early this morning at 3, Sarnia's Priscilla Gagne is in the 52-kilogram judo competition. Now, and a little later at 6:05, Windsor's Mike Whitehead, along with Team Canada's wheelchair rugby team, taking on New Zealand. Coverage of the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. It's on CBC Gem, our dedicated Tokyo 2020 website, and on the CBC Sports app, which is available for iOS and Android devices. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Nick. Nick, we had a little bit of rain there. Jacob Barker out by the field getting a little soaked, but I guess it was better than sweating all day, eh?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, I had a little bit of rain. At least it's warm rain, right? It's
That's
not like
true,
that cold stuff. Temperatures today in the high 20s right now, but it's the humidex that we're still feeling across all of Ontario. 28 degrees right now in Windsor with the humidex. Feels like 39. The muggy weather still in place. We have triggered off some thunderstorms sort of east of Chatham-Kent up toward London and around the Golden Horseshoe. That's where we've seen some of the worst of the weather. Although, that being said, right there, we're starting to trigger off some thunderstorms down around the LaSalle area. You'll probably see some of that in Windsor as well. There are severe thunderstorm watches in effect. I'll show you those in a moment. Of course, we got the heat warnings in effect as well. This is the fuel that we need for this. There's a look at the severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. Doesn't include Windsor, but includes some of our forecast area. So watch for that tonight. It's just the intensity of these storms, really, it's because of the heat and humidity. We get a lot of rainfall and some pretty heavy downpours from that as well. Most of the action with this, though, out toward London and eastward, but still could see that right down toward Chatham. There's a look at the forecast through tonight. Thunderstorms will dissipate into the evening hours tonight. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud through the afternoon, though. We're going to see some more scattered showers and thunderstorms across the region, starting down in Windsor and then pushing eastward. Breaks up again for Saturday morning and then into Saturday afternoon. Scattered showers once more across the area. Forecast for tonight then, clearing out 21 degrees through the overnight period. Tomorrow, not much of an improvement. 30 degrees, humidex values close to that 40 mark once more, and scattered thunderstorms across the forecast region. 32, by the way, on Saturday. Humidex pops right back up to 40, and I think the best chance for seeing some kind of extended relief, like Tuesday onward. Chris.
Just got to get around the corner there, Nick.
That's right.
Thanks for this.
You bet.
I will be back with more after the break. Now, we've told you about the 19-year-old attempting to become the youngest woman to fly around the world solo. This week, she's stopping in Canada. CBC's Rowan Kennedy has the story.
Zara Rutherford's pink and white plane touched down on a tarmac at a flight academy in Longueuil. Dozens of students were on hand to greet her. The young pilot is unassuming, and so is her single-passenger, single-engine plane. It's called an Ultralight Shark, and it was built for her trip. It will bring her to 52 countries and 5 continents. And she's serving as an inspiration to young girls, like the student body president at l'ENA, the National School of Aerotechnics.
I'm amazed, and I think it's absolutely inspiring for young people, especially young women.
And the school's director says it's needed. He says only 10% of his students are women.
We have less women, so we have to show them that it's the start of a career in aerospace, and to have a model for all the young women.
Rutherford started training at 15. Should she make it around the world, she'll set a record. Rutherford will be the youngest woman to do it at 19 years old.
I can, show girls, look, here's a girl flying. You're not alone. There's someone else out there who loves the same things that you do.
She's off to New York, then Colombia by way of Mexico. She says she's looking forward to South America the most. And she hopes she'll be home by November, having broken a world record and inspired young girls. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Longueuil.
That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That severe thunderstorm warning back in place for Windsor, Essex, according to Environment Canada. You take a look outside, you can kind of see why. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.